Happy Merry Christmas to all of the Pain Train family. I hope you've had one hell of a day and I hope you've chilled out, relaxed, eaten much good food. But now it is time to discuss the 10th episode of To Your Eternity season number 2. This episode was meta. We went places I didn't think we would be going. It was an insane episode and there was a lot to discuss. Thankfully as well, we've got a good episode to discuss over Christmas. My big worry was that it would be a big old trauma fest and Christmas would be ruined by To Your Eternity. Pretty much the opposite. I really enjoyed today's episode. I've got a lot to say. Hope you guys are gonna enjoy, buckle up and talk about the episode with me. Thank you so much. If you haven't already, go check out the winter 2023 breakdown to see what is replacing all of the animes next season, because this is the final video for fall. This is the last breakdown that's going up. There are 20 episodes for To Your Eternity Season 2. We are halfway. This is the halfway point. This is episode number 10. I believe there might be a week gap before we go into the new anime of the season. You're probably going to have a little chill out with me, which means my top 3 anime need to go up next week. Finally decide what my top 3 of the season have been. Just sit with my thoughts and see how I feel a day after, because sometimes I'll release a video, say top 3, and then a day later I'll be like, actually, no, I don't agree. Let's get straight to it because we are now in preparation for war. I do like this ceiling mural because this ceiling mural seems to reveal the entirety of the world to us, how big the world really is. We do also see the negative impact again that the church has, way too powerful, even in this city as well. We know it's not safe to bring Kohaku here, despite the fact he would be the perfect person to talk to everybody because I can talk to the knockers. Uphill struggle for Bon because Bon really struggles to persuade people. Who are you? Right now, you can't be Bon the prince because the prince is dead. He is trying to persuade people, I know what's best for you guys. I know there's this big attack. We should all leave. Obviously, nobody wants to trust him because they don't know who he is. And that's a fair point because you're in a big fortified city. You're apparently in the biggest city in this modern world right now. Naturally looks safe. It appears safe. Wanting to not move the people and risking moving them into perhaps a trap makes logical sense. Fushi this week has his own struggles. He is trying to make a boat. He has got the narrative company, which allows him to check in on how everybody's doing, which I really enjoy. I also like the fact that the narrator does give him hints. He still tries to give him nudges in the right direction of what he should be trying to focus in on. A bit of a weird welcome break this week. Discovers that actually I'm really close to people and I want snacks, so he ends up discovering some new fruits. There's also the moment when the horse of questionable origins, I know everyone's saying it's Piran. I still can't get my head wrapped around that, but the horse refusing to eat pears made by Fushi because the Fushi horse is refusing to eat pears by the Fushi made out of the Fushi flesh. I can't get it to rhyme. I don't know what I did last week. I managed to get it to rhyme and not quite rhyming this week. Let's jump into probably the darkest aspect of this week's episode. It doesn't last long. The enslaving of other people. They call them the clay pot people. They're people from quite far away. The darker human aspects of enslaving people, making them an exhibit, so it even exists in this world as well. Does make me wonder who the clay pot people are, but sadly it seems that the knockers have got there and wiped them out as a people, which is really sad. The themes of the week tend to circle around the idea of control. Both Bon and Fushi experience this issue. Bon is unable to persuade the evacuation efforts because people see him as trying to get control. Why are you trying to move all these people out? You want to come in here and you want control of this country. They don't want to abandon the castle or the town because it is a symbol of control. It's a symbol of the peoples. There is this big refusal of moving anybody at all. We don't see the face of the princess. I have a feeling it's the girl who dances in the OP, but I don't have a lot to go on just yet, but I feel like she's going to be important. Fushi, being our boy, ends up saving the kids. It's still this issue of control. He ends up meeting the woman who refuses his help because she sees him as being a rich person who's just trying to have control over them, which is really sad because he was offering them money and food to help them, but obviously she doesn't trust the rich people because obviously Fushi is a one-of-a-kind person. Not everybody is like Fushi. This does spark a bit of a conflict within Fushi's brain. It's also sad because it does mean that the people of this world do not trust good deeds because they see them as suspicious. Fushi this week does gain a new form. Sadly, the boy doesn't make it. He does end up on our midway board, missing lots of forms after last week's battle. It does seem that we are coming full circle. Once upon a time, Fushi was nothing more than a boy, a wolf who couldn't speak, who couldn't talk to March. And now he has met a girl, and we're calling her Echo. Doesn't speak and communicate in a way that anybody else does. It's via the pot. It's via these more unique ways of speaking. It's gone full circle because once upon a time, Fushi was the student. Fushi has now become the teacher. He is now teaching Echo how to talk, how to look after herself. Fushi has been made into the person that he is by good actions of the people around him. Even the negative ones have shaped him as a person because he knows how he doesn't want to be. I think Echo is a really cool name, a good choice. I love her design. Also love the gradient that she's got going on in her hair. It did seem initially that Fushi was straying away. His motivation was to learn to build a boat. He's gone into teaching and pirating instead, in true to Eternity fashion. Even if Fushi isn't working on the task at hand, he ends up back on the task anyway. With meeting Echo, he ends up learning a hell of a lot more than he would if he hadn't have gone into town that day. Echo is me whenever I see a cat. Any cat that I meet, I want to say hi, I want to know about them. Echo is in the ED. That makes me a little bit nervous. I think we've had a few fake outs. I think Bon is in the ED as well. Maybe she's not going to die, but it does bode quite badly because she's a really cool person. I love her design, but it's a bit suspicious that she's in the ED. I also like the use of Rin this week doing the sewing, making a dress. Echo could, if she wanted to be a little sister to Rin. She seems to be of similar age to her. The words of control end up haunting Fushi this week. What is control? What is a selfless act? What is the difference between the two? I like the fact that we have to review certain characters. Obviously, we're missing certain characters right now, but we can only review a few. Reviewing March. It was because March loved Fushi. March cared for Fushi. March saw Fushi as a child. She wanted to do good things, very nature of her being, because she was all about love. She was a character of love. Tonari did want freedom for her friends, trying to escape control. She was trying to get away from the idea of controlling others. Bon, for me, was a bit of a grey area because he did set out trying to have control over Fushi. And there was a few moments when he did state that he wanted to keep knowledge to himself because he wanted Fushi to help him and he was using Fushi. He ended up hypothetically dying. Selfless means in the end. He ended up not wanting control over people. He looked after his men. He looked after the people of his town. Those are 3 examples where Fushi is trying to work out, why do I want to help people? I like this because words haunt Fushi, but it also makes Fushi realise that I don't want to have control over people. I think Fushi to me strikes me as an empath. He's able to feel other people's pains. He wants to save people from those pains, fill in that missing gap. Learning about the K-pop people with a unique way of communicating ends up filling that missing gap that the narrator has been telling Fushi. You need this. You need to start seeing things around you as part of you. You see them as family. And Fushi sees the use of the pot to communicate as a way of Echo saying, I care about you. I worry about you. The pot ends up being part of Echo's existence. So the way that she sees the pot ends up showing Fushi that I need to start seeing the world around me as part of myself. Massive kudos now to what I think is one of my favourite sequences, the storm sequence where Fushi starts to work it all out. The music, absolutely beautiful. I love the To Your Eternity motif song in general. I think it's great. Hearing it in different renditions this week was fantastic. Seeing every single small detail starting to build to the bigger picture was great because initially Fushi comforts the animals, he fixes a hole in the boat, and then he starts to realise that I can do this without moving. It becomes a bit of a Noah's Ark situation. This is the ark of Fushi. Everything inside this ark is protected. I'm looking after you. During the storm, we will survive the storm together. And that allows Fushi to start realising everything in the boat is part of me. I am protecting everything in this boat. There is a boat growing out of a boat. There is boatception going on here. It is Boaty McBoatface Mark II. Really, really cool. And we learned that 3 kilometers of Fushi. Fushi's body now extends 3 kilometers. A web situation going on where everything is attached. Every single thing is part of Fushi. It is an insane new skill. He has become a life-giving god. He's able to grow things. He's providing for things. Everything in this 3 kilometer path is safe. Fushi's new scary party trick is the ability to shift locations, create another body, teleport himself. Very important during the fight that is on the horizon. Feels like Fushi has finally ascended beyond human. Did like this next moment, difference between Kohaku and Bon. The small difference of tea drinkers. Kohaku wants green tea, and I believe Kohaku comes from a culture not so different from Asia, that area of the world. It makes sense that he would be culturally different from Bon. Bon comes from a much more modern empire Bon ends up drinking black tea. To me, that feels modern. That feels a bit more, this is the hip way of doing it. Different from the culture of the green tea. Whenever I think green tea, I do think Asia. Just seeing the differences in Bon and Kohaku and what they drink was quite a nice little touch. Fushi becoming what we need in a sense. He's able to kill a knocker from afar. He reminds me of a trapdoor spider, as much as I really hate spiders. Fushi is in the middle of this web. He's not even near where the knocker is. He's able to kill the knocker just because it was touching him. He knew it was there. It was on the boundary of his 3 kilometers. Bon does state that he believes Fushi is no longer human. I don't know how much I agree with it. Yeah, these are some godly powers, but Fushi is special. He's a creation of a being that I can presume is the closest thing to a god. Fushi has, in my eyes as a human, what I perceive as godly powers. I still see him as having that human heart, wanting to look after things, wanting to take care of them and everything. Bon's gonna have some interesting choices next week as well that we need to discuss. But we find out that the clay pot people were sadly destroyed by the knockers. They were far away. They were on a different continent. They too have been destroyed by the knockers, and every single corner of the map that we probably saw in that ceiling has been invaded by the knockers. They are everywhere. That is the true scale that we are dealing with. Echo ends up joining our party, but Kohaku seems very jealous by this fact. Whether he thinks that Fushi's going to fall in love with Echo or something, I don't know. There did seem to be a hint of jealousy there. There is now half a year to go, and we've got 10 episodes left. We're going to have the last 10 episodes focusing on the fight. We see during this last half that Bon is gathering allies. Fushi and Kohaku end up going to the town that the battle's going to take place. Somehow it's safe to bring Kohaku there. Not quite sure whether they're just on the outskirts or something, but it does seem that they've ended up in the town. But let's discuss Bon, because Bon has stated that he's going to come back with new immortal friends. I was questioning whether such people could exist. Right now, Bon still hasn't told Fushi of his ability to bring people back from the dead. That is still something that Bon hasn't told him, despite having some opportunity to do so, which you'd think might be helpful. Whether he is going to find people we don't even know of, or he's going to eventually tell Fushi about bringing people back, or are we going to go somewhere darker? Is he going to start making zombies or something? That was a big worry of mine, that maybe Bon's going to cross the line. That is the episode. It was a really cool episode. Fushi's skills are now just mind-blowing. Evolved and ascended into something completely new. Insane. Just absolute insanity, just seeing the level that he's going to. Whole world difference between the boy who couldn't speak and now becoming pretty much the teacher, looking after Echo. I think she's the first dependent on Fushi we've had. By this point, Fushi's just old. He's like decades and centuries old. Weird to see him looking after a child. We're still gearing up for war. Going to be interesting to see where we go. Can't wait to see how the last 10 episodes pan out, because every single episode seems to be taking us further and further away from the starting point. It'll be interesting to see where the final destination really is. Thank you guys so much. It's been amazing, and I hope that my little ramble has at least given you something to think about, or a little outlet to talk about Fushi and our Pain Train anime that is To Your Eternity. Thank you guys so much. I can't wait to see you in the next season. Hopefully maybe a week's time I'm gonna have my top 3 anime of the season out. Let's see if To Your Eternity can make the list. Thank you guys so much. I will see you guys soon. Have a great day, guys. Bye bye.